Well, a Friday morning, 12th day of February. Joining us this morning, Christian Marr from the Crawford Heritage Foundation. Good morning, Christian. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing all right on this very, very cold day.
Cold?
Very cold. Mark had the right idea going to Florida. He picked the perfect day for it.
We had a guest on yesterday, and he was on his way. He's leaving. I think he left this morning. But yeah, you're right. Like perfect weekend to leave.
Granted, my uncle lives in Lakeland, Florida, and yesterday he posted pictures on Facebook of all of his shrubs and bushes and things covered because they were expecting a frost. It only got down to 34, so they've narrowly avoided it. But even Florida is not being spared this polar vortex.
It's kind of like the same thing last year. We were down last year around this time, and the news reports, they were acting like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. We got to cover everything. And people were like, what do we do? What do we do?
Yeah, it's a whole different world.
Yeah, and then I'm looking out the first night we stayed outside of Jacksonville, so I'm looking out the hotel window and I see our car and it's got the remnants of all the snow we had been through, and everybody's looking at it like, what is up with your vehicle? We'll wash it.
Yeah.
It's snow, it's ice, it's salt.
Yeah.
It's everything.
It's the North.
It's the North. So what's going on? How's the year been for you?
We had a fantastic year last year, actually, from a giving standpoint. The financial markets were not quite as friendly to us, but you'll have that. But at least in the things that we can control, as far as the generosity of people in Crawford County, an amazing year. We brought in almost $500,000 in new funds, gifts to existing funds and things of that nature. So we were very happy, did a lot of positive work, and all of that money is money that stays here in Crawford County and is going to help build our charitable organizations in this region. So we're pretty excited about that. You
mentioned the stocks the last couple of weeks. They've been a bit crazy. In fact, I heard a report this morning that said, thank God it's Friday, so they can get this week over with.
Yeah. And, last year, at one point, we were down about $1 million we were at $15 million, went down to $14 million. We went back up at the end of the year to about $14.5 million. And, who knows where it stands right now. But that's the volatility of being in the community foundation field, is you have to be invested in the market. And luckily, we're not your average retiree who has to plan for a time when you don't have any income. So we can weather this volatility really well, and we've done it twice before. We've been through 2 recessions with the foundation and come back stronger through both of them.
Wow.
So our history shows us that this volatility will lead to some greater growth in the future.
Is that part of your job, is to be
Thank
looking?
God, no.
Okay.
No. We have investment partners who are the experts in this. I've got a finance committee of people who know this kind of thing backward and forward, who help guide our investment decisions.
And these aren't people that just kind of do it for fun on the side. These are
we hire professionals who manage the money, and then we have business people and others on the committee who kind of oversee that we're working with an investment policy statement that will guide our actions. And we're using, we're one of about 700 community foundations in the United States. And we all try to work kind of from a similar kind of playbook, because there are just certain best practices that work really well. And so we take the advice of our other community foundations. There are a lot of them who have been around for a lot longer than us. If you go to the Cleveland Foundation, the first foundation in the United States, they have billions of dollars with a B. So, you've got a lot of expertise out there that helps guide how we make these decisions, so that we're, using local people's money in the best possible way. But knowing, we're going to have ups and downs, just like you would do with your retirement account. And that's okay, because we know that long term, we're going to have a good benefit. When
you're dealing with ups and downs, though, are you looking at those companies, those organizations that you're helping throughout the year, and you say, okay, here's somebody who needs this, or they ask for this much every year. We have to make sure we do whatever it takes to make that happen?
Well, most of our funds, probably about 90% of the money that we have has to go to the same organizations year after year, because the donor who established the fund designated that every year it'll go to the YMCA, the YWCA, and the United Way, for example. And so we have to make sure that that money goes to them. And so how it happens is, if we go up or down, the beneficiaries just get a percentage of that money. So if we're way down, they're going to see a little bit less. Unfortunately, so we've done some things to try and balance that out. We use a 3-year average for how we calculate those distributions, and that helps to kind of mitigate some of those rapid ups and downs, because as you said, a lot of organizations rely on that income, especially when you've got really unstable government spending and income.
No,
so
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So an endowment is a great way to kind of avoid those kinds of, or mitigate some of those ups and downs. If your organization is in a financial situation where they can have an endowment, and you don't necessarily need to dip into it every year, you can grow it for a little while. In these bad years, or when government funding's wonky, you can use that money to kind of fill in the gaps. You
have a lot of folks who grew up in the region, and every town has these stories. They worked hard, they built a business, or they're successful at their job, or maybe they saved right. Yeah. They have kids, jobs, maybe in the 90s declined, and the kids moved off, or maybe the kids just moved off anyways. So they leave the area. Maybe they do well. How do you reach out to those people to remind them, hey, we're here if you want to contribute?
That's probably our biggest challenge, is connecting with those folks who've moved away. And you can try and get a hold of them in a lot of ways. If sometimes you're talking to the parents and you learn about the kids, and you're like, oh, would you mind telling me so-and-so's address and stuff, and we'll put them in the database, and we'll send them a letter and thank them. But some of the people who've done really well, in Meadville, we've got Jack Davies, who used to be a president for AOL back in the heyday of the tech industry. Wow. And he's a part owner of the Washington Capitals. So Jack's somebody that we try to make sure that knows that we're still around.
That is impressive.
So you've got people like that.
Do they ever come back to Meadville to visit?
Jack, yeah, he's got family here. So, okay. Or here in Titusville, Jim Broadhurst, a hometown boy made good. We try to keep in touch with Jim and make sure that we've got a good relationship with him, and let him know that we're here. Of course, he lives in the Pittsburgh area, and he's got a good relationship with our friends at the Pittsburgh Foundation. So we already know that he's doing a lot of philanthropic things here and in the Pittsburgh region too. So it's we're all.
Do you find that people like that who leave still want to help the place where they grew up?
It depends. Some people do, and some people are like, I got out of there, and it's not the place that I want to be anymore. And you have to respect every person's particular opinion, but it's always nice when somebody's like, hey, this is the area that shaped me. This is the area that kind of influenced the person I am today, and I think that there's a reason why I am who I am today. So I think I should give back something, and so we do see a bit of that.
Well, that's a good thing. Hopefully, there's more of those who say, "Oh, yeah, I had a great experience then. That place ruined me. I'm out of here."
Or they say, "Hey,
I didn't let jail ruin my experience here in Northwest PA."
Nor should you.
Right. Thank you.
We don't need you to be just another guy on the welfare lines abusing the system, right?
Something like that.
There we go.
So what's going on here as we are into February now? Hard to believe.
Oh God! Hey, at least we get an extra day this year, though. So,
right. Yeah, that's one day more of not getting closer to spring.
That might true, unless you believe that groundhog. But today, how can you?
Well, early spring, but he didn't quite say when winter would.
True. Yeah.
And it happened to come all at once.
Yeah. So we just got done with doing our discretionary grant making. So I was out here in Titusville last week again, giving out our big checks, and made some stops around town at the Benson Memorial Library for a program that they'll be running this summer. The new Titusville Literacy Council, we made a grant to them for some of their equipment. and we're really excited to see that program start to flourish and grow. Last time I was there, I think they had 1 employee. Now they've got several. So
yeah. Well, you
nice
just brought up 2 things. Benson Memorial Library, Justin Hankey there. Wow. Have you had a chance to...
So much energy.
Yes, it is incredible. And I think they just got like a 3D printer. And
yeah, I saw that. That's crazy.
I mean, they're doing some really cool things there.
Yeah, it's not what you think about when you think about the library like when we were kids. Like,
right.
It's not story time. It is still story time.
It is.
But it's story time plus other things, which
Yeah.
is great. I like that kind of innovation and that they're thinking outside the
book.
the tradition. Yeah, the traditional library. It's, you want to draw people in and get people engaged in their community, which is wonderful.
So you can't judge a book by its cover?
No.
Or a library by its... anyways.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's not just the old brick building anymore.
So is that exciting for you guys when you hear of all the exciting things going on at a place and you think, boy, they're asking for this?
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah, we like we like to see innovative programs. We like to see things that are going to engage people in the community, because I think in the modern era we're all kind of thinking about looking at our phones, and we're not engaging with people. And there's a lot of benefit to people engaging with one another, getting to know their neighbors, and to engaging in the democratic process and all of those kind of things. So the more people are using libraries, the more people are getting educated, the more people are knowing their neighbors and learning about them and seeing their commonalities, the better I think we are as a community. So those are all good things. We want to see that kind of stuff thrive. And if there's an interesting project out there, we want people to come and say, hey, we want you to be a part of this. We're excited about it. We want to share that excitement. So yeah, I mean, in Meadville right now, they recently just got a grant. The Redevelopment Authority of the City of Meadville got a grant from the Orton Family Foundation out of Vermont for this Community Heart and Soul program. And we're not really involved in it from a financial standpoint, at least not yet. But it's a really interesting thing. It's an economic development tool. It's a municipal planning tool, and it's just a way to bring people to the table who haven't been to the table before, and to kind of encourage new leadership in the community. So those types of things are kind of exciting and neat to see going on.
It is 8:22. This is the Morning Drill on Stream Television and the Allegheny News Talk Sports Network. What happens, where are you here in February with the overall process, the outline for the year? What are you working on and what's coming up?
Well, we just got done with strategic planning, so now it's the matter of actually implementing strategic planning. So this is the time of year when I start to gear up in going out and meeting with prospective donors. And, a lot of what we do is a lot of what I do at least, is talking to attorneys, accountants, well, not accountants this time of year, because not until after tax season, but financial advisors and those kind of things, because they know people who have a need who usually have a charitable interest and might have a financial need to make some sort of gift that kind of offsets maybe their income, or that they're planning their estate and they're working with their attorney and they're saying, hey, I'm going to have this money, but I don't know where I should give it. Should I just give it flat out to my church, or should I just give it flat out to another organization? Or, I don't want them to just run through it in a year. And that's where, the community foundation is usually a good partner, because we can, if somebody wants to leave us a bequest, they can leave us a lump sum of money. They can leave us a percentage. They can leave us whatever, $5 or so. And
so I was going to ask you, does that vary? Do you have people that give, $5 and say, this is really all I can do a month? Or
usually on a yearly basis, yeah, we have people who will give us smaller amounts. But when people are giving us a bequest, usually it's more than $5,000. It's a larger amount. They usually want to make a more significant impact. So those type of people, they're thinking when they come to us that, if I give my money outright to the 3 or 4 organizations that I really like, are they going to go through it in a year? And then there's not going to be anything for the long term. Where the foundation is helpful is that we can make it a permanent endowment. We'll give out a little bit each year for eternity, really, for the foreseeable future, to those organizations, so that they'll always have a source of support. That you're kind of, if you've made a gift to the United Way every year in your lifetime, it comes a point when you've passed away that they're not getting that any money anymore. It's nice to kind of replace yourself with that endowment to make sure that the organization's always going to have your support.
Would you say any amount is a significant amount?
I think, yeah. I mean, I think it depends on the person, and that's one of my guiding principles, and one of the foundation's guiding principles is gratitude. Is you've got people who will come in and make a gift of $5,000, and for them that's half their savings. That's a huge, significant gift, and you want to make sure that you're thanking them to the level that you should be. You're honoring that sacrifice that they've made. Yeah, Donald Trump comes in and gives you $5,000. It's not going to be much to him. It's not going to hurt a little bit. It's just going to be like whatever. But
that's what's in his pocket.
Yeah, exactly. That's just pocket change. But you still thank people as if it's the most important thing that you've done,
right?
Because it is significant, no matter what people give.
So what's the challenge then to take, let's say, $5,000 and figure out how to make that?
Well, I think some people come to me and they know exactly what they want to do, and a lot are just like, I'm not quite sure. Maybe I want to do a scholarship, but then what criteria should I use? We just did an agriculture scholarship at the end of last year with a family, and they knew right away. They had talked to their accountant, and he was like, there are some options out there for managing this scholarship for you, but really you should talk to the foundation because they're the ones who do this kind of stuff daily, and they know all the ins and outs. And so, we kind of have the expertise to do that kind of thing.
So would you sit with the family and kind of come up with those guidelines?
Right. So we sit down and we kind of figure out, well, okay, what's the most important thing for you? Who do you want to impact? And it's a lot of asking questions. It's like, okay, what kinds of things have you done? Where do you give now? People always start with their church. Around here, everybody's got a church, is a member of a church pretty much. So
the question is whether they go or not.
Well, of course. Or if they pledge and all of that kind of thing.
It's been 20 years, but we'll leave some money there.
Exactly. And for some people, they really do kind of just pick something kind of randomly, or something that they've only had a kind of a tertiary interest in. Or they've seen an organization do good work, although they've never been involved, but they're like, I've kept my eye on them, and I know that they're putting their money the way I would manage it if I were them. So I want to support that thing. We've received gifts in the past from people that we didn't even know that, they talked to their attorney and they had kind of been like, I've kept an eye on them and they're doing things right. So I want to use them. And we've talked to lots of nonprofit organizations who've gotten these bequests from people who they never knew.
Wow.
It's, of course, we love that. We're happy about that, but we always encourage people to let us know ahead of time what their plans are, and that's our big plan. Is we need to expand those people in what we call our bequest society. So that we can make sure that we're thanking them, making sure that they know how we're using the money that we have already, so that they're comfortable giving in the
And that's
future.
probably good for them. I mean, to know what is going to happen when they're gone,
Right.
or with their money, what's going to happen with it, how it's going to be taken care of.
Right, because I would want to be assured that what I'm planning is going to work, and we'd run into this situation also. Is you've got, for example, 2 organizations internationally that do cleft palate repairs, and we've got money for one of them that the donor left in their will.
Wow.
And they were like, okay, I want to give to Operation Smile. Here's their address. Here's their tax ID number. Sometimes people give us information. They're like, I want to support Smile Train, which is the other one, and then they give us the address for Operation Smile, and then you're like, okay, well, which one did they really mean? And then you've got to get lawyers involved sometimes.
Oh, no.
And so, one of the things that we can do is we'll help work with your attorney or financial advisor to say, okay, we'll do the research. So we'll say, okay, you want to do cleft palate repairs. Did you like Operation Smile or did you like Smile Train better? Because they both have a slightly different approach. They're not doing it in the same way. And they have slightly different results. And so then we'll find that organization's tax ID number. We'll draft the paragraphs to go into the person's will that we then share with their attorney, so their attorney makes sure that everything's up to snuff. We want to make sure that ahead of time everything's right, because you do run into situations where people are like, oh, just give it to the presbytery or something, and okay, did you mean the presbytery of Lake Erie, or did you mean the presbytery of Pittsburgh, or what? You've got to be really specific.
You just need to make sure.
You got to be really specific in these legal documents, and I'm sure Lynn over here has run into those situations before where people have marked a beneficiary that's not quite what they thought it was. And so we're here to make sure that people are getting exactly what they paid for.
Christian, how can folks get a hold of you if they have any questions or want to learn more?
CrawfordHeritage.org right now is a terrible website, but in a couple of weeks,
honesty this morning.
But in a couple of weeks, it'll be lovely. We're getting it redesigned, and I've seen the draft, and it looks fantastic. I'm very excited about it.
Excellent.
But on the phone at 814-499-1852 is the best way to reach me.
All righty, Christian, great to see you this morning. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.
Big plans?
Stay warm.
Stay warm. Big plans?
I'm going to huddle up by the fire.
Okay, there you go. Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, nice seeing you too.
Have a good
Thanks
weekend.
Again.
Morning Drill will continue right after this.